This is Impact Wrestling superstar Jordan Grace, and you're listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
You are listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals. And as one Tyler would say, I am Mike, but I'm not with Tyler today. Oh no, as Tyler loves to say. I am joined, of course, by Mr. Adam Contant, and we're here for a very special edition of the show. Why is it so special? Well, we'll get there. That's right. We are putting on a very special episode. If you were a listener of the old Wrestlemedia days, there was a show that came out, I want to say every Wednesday.
It did change around quite a bit in terms
of
the scheduling, but Wednesdays was a good home for it.
But actually, that was probably Women Crush Wednesdays. That was, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't matter what day it was.
Wrestling,
yeah,
not Wednesdays.
But that was on Wednesdays, wasn't it?
Again, the schedule did change around.
Everything got changed. What we're doing today is a show called Ropes to Reels, where usually it was Adam himself with Sir F Word himself, Drew Ferris. They would get together every week. They would take a movie, and review that movie in only a way that they could. The only caveat was, Adam, you had a very special question to answer. What was that question?
Well, I thought maybe I could get you to ask to answer the question, because typically Drew would ask me the question,
right?
Whenever we would do this. So I don't know if you have a question in mind that you would like to ask. If you don't, then I don't mind trying to ask the question.
Well, it was the same question every single week, and that was, what does this have to do with wrestling? And
just gonna Drew used to put fun spins on it and stuff, and I don't want to say that you're blowing it in the first 5 minutes of this.
Listen,
I'm just saying, if Drew was here, he would have done it better.
I'm kind of doing the Tyler role this week, and Tyler blows it. What can I say?
Okay, fair enough.
Here's the thing. When I decided I wanted to do this, we've been talking about The Rock on the show a lot, as pretty much every other show in the world has been doing. So I wanted to take it. It's very timely. It's very topical. Everyone's talking about The Rock. So I said, why don't we... Originally, Adam, I wanted to do a top 7 list of either the best Rock movies or the worst Rock movies. Then I realized I haven't seen 7 of The Rock's movies.
You're missing out, man. He does have some good ones.
I looked at his filmography and I realized that I've been away from a lot of his films. So I said, you know what? Let's do Ropes to Reels. I'm going to throw it to Adam. I'm going to let him choose any of the Rock's movies. Pick one. Let's review it. I said the only caveat was don't do any of the Fast movies, because I pride myself in the fact that I've never seen a single one of the Fast and Furious movies.
Besides, we already did all of the Rock's Fast and Furious movies on the original run of Ropes to Reels. We called it 2 Ropes, 2 Reels month.
It does sound like something you and Drew would do. And I'm glad I have no recollection of it, because that just sounds horrible.
I mean, much like the movies themselves, there were some good ones and some not so good ones.
Well, your choice was a very recent offer. Tell the folks today, what movie are we reviewing?
We are going to be watching 2022's Black Adam. And of course, to answer the question that was asked by Mike, what does this have to do with wrestling? Well, it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he also produces the film, which become very evident very shortly as we
he sure does
as we watch this movie. There is a very good reason why I picked this one. First and foremost, it's his most recent offering.
Yeah.
It is the most recent Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film, but also this is a movie that got a lot of attention when it came out. Not necessarily for the reasons The Rock wanted it, but it got a lot of attention nonetheless. So part of this was that I wanted to see if all of the negativity surrounding this film was warranted. And the second reason is because I have a theory that I think this movie is responsible for the WrestleMania 40 main event.
Oh, so
I'll get there.
love that. I like
So-
that you said. I like that you said that there was, a lot of negative response to this movie because, and again, we'll get there. But when we get to talking about the Rotten Tomatoes score, which will come later in the show, one of the scores was pretty goddamn bad, and one of the scores was pretty goddamn good.
So you went and looked?
The audience score.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second.
Wait. I thought I was trying to do my research
off
here.
The roll. Listen. If you were going to do this, you had to understand that Drew Ferris never did any research whatsoever. We're going into these shows. So part of the fun was getting his reactions to it and playing our little guessing games. Did you at least, you know what? Okay, forget it. You know what? We're just going to soldier on.
If it makes you feel any better, I drifted in and out of this movie. I scrolled on my phone a lot. I probably took a shit.
What makes me feel better,
there'll be a lot of parts where I am lost, just like Drew would be.
What makes me feel better is that this review is already starting to line up with this film in terms of its quality. Not to spoil anything. By the way, spoilers, we may talk about the plot of this film. So if you haven't seen this yet and you just do not want it spoiled for you, I guess go listen to another podcast.
I have a feeling anybody listening to this, if they haven't already seen it, they have no interest in seeing it, and they have no problem with this being spoiled.
I don't think this podcast is going to change that opinion.
No, I don't think so. The reason I did bring up the Rotten Tomatoes score is because I thought possibly, because I did hear a lot of negative stuff, and it's part of the reason I'd never watched this movie until just last night. But I thought possibly the fact that they had a really good audience score would be like, okay, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe these are just a bunch of critic douchebags. No, I don't know who liked this movie. I don't know who they are, but they're horrible people, and they should feel really, really bad about themselves.
All right, Mike.
No, you as well. Before we move on, I just want one question from you.
Sure.
You as well. Until yesterday, you didn't watch this movie, except for bits and pieces you saw in the movie theater.
I was working at Galaxy Cinemas at the time. Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell the reason why I waited 2 years to watch this movie. But is there a reason you didn't watch this movie in full until last night?
No, just you didn't make time for it. And again, I can't lie and say that the uber negative reviews didn't make me feel like I had to rush out and see it. And if it had been getting rave reviews, I might have gone out and made the effort.
Now, I grew up a big DC fan. I am still a big DC fan, and I try to get out and see all the DCEU movies, even if I'm not interested in the IP. I'd still try to see them all in the theater. This is the first one I didn't see in the theater, but it had a problem. It opened up against what I consider to be the best movie of 2022. It opened up against The Banshees of Inisherin.
Okay,
so I'm not when it comes to either some movie with The Rock versus a Martin McDonagh film, I'm going McDonagh every single time.
You know where your loyalties are.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of Martin McDonagh, and I'm so glad I did choose that because Banshees of Inisherin did become my favorite movie of the year in 2022. And I stand by that very, very staunchly. So, and then by the time it hit digital, same reason for you, all the negative connotation didn't exactly have me running for Crave TV to watch it, so that's why it took me that long to get there. But thanks to Adam, I don't know if he's mad at me or what, but we got there, I watched it, and here we are to talk about it.
Hey man, I could have made you watch an El Santo movie.
Oh, good Lord.
Milton? That is a very, very, very specific callback. All right, Mike, let's take a bite into this turd sandwich. Let's start with The Shine. What did you like about the movie?
I'm not gonna lie, very little. Very, very little. But what I did like, I suppose, from a geek standpoint, from a guy who grew up with this IP, I liked seeing some of the characters that we haven't seen in live action yet. So seeing Dr. Fate in live action was cool for me, especially being played by Pierce Bronson, an actor I've always enjoyed growing up. So to see Pierce Bronson playing Dr. Fate, that's cool shit. Seeing Happen Smasher in live action, that's cool shit. Um, Hawkman, I thought was well portrayed, but it took a little bit away because I do think he was better portrayed on the CW, in shows like The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. So to see him on the big screen was still pretty cool. To have certain tie-ins that I wasn't expecting were kind of cool. It was almost like Easter eggs. I didn't know that Amanda Waller was going to be in this film. So to have the Amanda Waller come in and do her thing was fun. Are we talking about the mid-credit scene yet?
We can talk about anything you want, man. This is
Okay.
your shine.
So I obviously enjoyed seeing Henry Cavill don the Superman outfit one more time, if not for the last time, to come in and do that little bit piece in the credits. Always cool. I question, though I don't judge, the score during that scene. I thought it odd that they didn't use Hans Zimmer's Superman score. They used John Williams' Superman score.
Can you hum the Hans Zimmer score for me?
No, I can't.
That's right. Nobody
That's
can. That's why they use the John Williams
But
score.
I do love the Man of Steel soundtrack. I do.
I mean,
it's fantastic.
Great. It's fantastic, but it's not iconic.
No,
it's
not as John Williams.
It's not. May I hum? No. Come on, man. That's
you're right.
That's iconic. All right. Anything
those
else
are my
like?
shines, man. I don't have a lot more. I'm gonna have a lot on the other side. But no, those are my main shines.
I have one shine.
All right.
Henry Winkler was a fun cameo.
Holy shit, I forgot about that. That threw me off. Just the fact he was on a cell phone for like 10 seconds as the elder Adam Smasher. That threw me right off. I won't lie, man. I marked out for that. I'm a big Henry Winkler fan. I love Henry Winkler and almost everything he does. So when he popped up in that cell phone, that was a markout moment for me.
Yeah, it was great. And that's it. Let's talk about the Heat. What didn't we like about this movie?
Good Lord. Okay, I have what apparently is an unpopular opinion. I don't know who it's unpopular with, but apparently there's a lot of people online who are going to disagree with me. But
Duane Johnson, you're used to that by now, aren't you?
True. But Duane Johnson is not a good fucking actor. Duane Johnson can't act. He's got less range than Seth Rogen, for fuck's sake. And that's not to say that Seth Rogen isn't entertaining, at least. But let's be honest, Seth Rogen only has one character, and that's Seth Rogen. Where The Rock has one character, and that's The Rock. And he's not very good at even that when not in the confines of a WWE environment. I found him deplorable in this film, like cheesy almost. I didn't find anything redeemable about his performance in this movie at all. Yeah, that's I got much more heat, but that's my number one. I'll let you have a turn here, but that's my first and foremost was the deplorable acting by Duane Johnson.
I disagree with you on half of that and completely wholeheartedly agree with you on another half. The part I disagree with is that I think Duane Johnson's an okay actor, but because you haven't seen a lot of his work, may I suggest go back and watch his early stuff when he was trying.
Like I've
Before
seen
the
the
Fast and
rundown, and I didn't think he was great in the rundown.
Okay, right.
I've seen Walking Tall, and he's just The Rock, you know.
Watch the Gridiron Gang. Watch, believe it or not, the Tooth Fairy. Good movie? No. But range for The Rock, something different. Yeah, absolutely. I'll even say go watch Rampage, which I think is actually a criminally underrated Dwayne Johnson movie. Now, once he realizes, okay, the Fast and Furious formula works, which is basically be The Rock,
Yeah.
yeah, he stops growing. And I agree, he's definitely nowhere near a good actor. But he has put in good performances in the past. Southland Tales, Be Cool. These are good movies.
See, I
This
thought I did
this
not
movie
enjoy
though,
Be Cool. I wanted to. Get Shorty was one of my favorite movies of the 90s. So I wanted to love Be Cool, but Be Cool got
yeah,
lost on me big
but
time.
the Rock is good in it, and he brings some charisma and he brings some range to the film. Like he's not a bad actor. He's not a great actor. He's just the Rock.
Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about because do you know what my favorite Rock movie is?
I do not.
And I must be the only one because I think it got destroyed on Rotten Tomatoes, if not everywhere else. My favorite movie that he's made is Baywatch.
I love Baywatch.
I love Baywatch.
I think that again another movie that we reviewed for Ropes to Reels, and if you go back, I there was some problems with that film, but The Rock was not one of them. The
No,
Rock is amazing. Give me 100 more movies with The Rock and Zac Efron in them. Just a
I
great chemistry between those two.
I also won't be too harsh on his voice acting skills because I almost any movie he's been in where he's a voice actor I've enjoyed.
Aha, I see
Yeah,
you're also a fine connoisseur of DC's The League of Super Pets.
love to see DC. I've seen it far too many times, considering I do have a 5-year-old.
Yeah, but how
So
many times were they in the room with you is the question.
at least once.
Okay.
And the same. I think Moana is a beautiful film.
Right. He's
I
great.
do. I think Moana is fantastic. So, and I know Dwayne put a lot of himself into Moana and into the character of Maui. And he takes a lot of pride in that character. So, I'm not going to be too harsh on on that end of his abilities, but from what I've seen, and let's be honest, I've seen the bad ones because I've watched Doom. I did sit down and watch that fucking abomination. I saw his cameo on fucking Deep Space Nine. I
Whoa,
yeah,
okay. Now
yeah.
I was not expecting that pull, that deep of a pull, but boy, howdy, you reached right into the back of the toilet and pulled that one out, man.
He's a fucking Romulan and he does the people's elbow.
Well, it is the
You,
most devastating move
yeah,
in the galaxy. We know
sure
this.
enough.
Uh,
More
wait a minute,
more
wait a
heat.
minute.
You got more heat? Okay,
I'm not done yet with this
all
because
right.
I want to say that that was the part I disagreed with.
Mhm.
But the part I agreed with is that he is awful in this. This is
Yes.
easily his worst performance. In fact, the note I have here is Dwayne Johnson lives up to his name in this because his acting is equal to watching a rock.
Yeah.
He is just faceless, emotionless stone. And I
Which
know he's going for stoic, but he just completely whiffs it. He is
which I
awful in
which I
this.
almost don't understand because he has been politicking for this position since 2007, if not before.
Mm-hmm.
He like this has been a role he's been wanting to play for the longest time. I don't think there's any role he's pushed harder or politics harder to play to the point where this was supposed to be a bit role in a Shazam movie to no, I'm going to be Black Adam and I'm going to have my whole fucking the DC universe is going to be based around me because I'm the fucking Rock and Black Adam's going to be the greatest character ever. So you would think he would actually try to live up to that expectation, but god damn it, he was boring. He really
Yeah.
was.
And speaking of boring, that's the other acting gripe I have. Pierce Brosnan looked as bored as I felt watching this movie.
This had to be just a paycheck for Pierce Brosnan. I was happy to see him but this is probably at the bottom of his, like when it comes to his film, you're going to rank his films one day. This is at the bottom of his performances. He phoned this one in big time, but I think this is probably just a big paycheck for him.
Everyone else was just fine.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think I can name anybody else in the movie, to be honest.
Well, I liked Adam Smasher and Cyclone. They were okay.
Do you
Hawkman
know
was good.
that?
Like I said, they're fine.
I mean the actors. I just
Oh
I don't
no, I
I don't know
anybody's
anybody
names.
else in this film.
Henry
You
Wrinkly.
know?
That's
Yeah, exactly. Who was probably the star of the film for me.
all right. Any other heat you want to you want to throw on this thing?
I thought no, I
More
thought
fire
80,
on this dumpster.
I thought 80% of the CGI was god awful.
This was like watching a video game cutscene for
Yeah.
an hour and a half. It was bad, noticeably bad. Like the first time I was ever truly aware of how bad it was when they're in the tomb and the crown is there spinning between the two peaks. It
Yeah.
literally looks like a power up in a video game. And
Yeah.
then the rest of the movie, any action scene, it literally looks like a cutscene. There was only one good special effect in this entire film, and it's putting the Rock's head on that other guy's body. That actually looks okay.
Yeah.
I think it's not
Yeah.
a bad effect.
Sure.
But the rest of it, atrocious, absolutely atrocious CGI.
The action scenes were okay, but half of the action scenes were muddled with the shitty CGI, so that took away from the action scenes as well. So it just destroyed one of the things that could have been a shine for this movie turned into a heat because of the horrible CGI. Another thing, just maybe this shouldn't be heat. Maybe I'm just being a dick about it. But it takes away from it knowing who produced this movie. The fact that The Rock had to have this much power over this, not only The Rock, but $7 Productions in general, with Danny Garcia, they all had to have their finger. What the fuck does Danny Garcia know about producing a fucking $300,000 movie?
Wow.
$300 million movie, I should say.
I mean, I would say based on her track record, she knows quite a bit. Like you have to understand, and I was going to get more into this during my review breakdown, like my final review, but
okay.
This is not like this is The Rock's first really big flop. That in a time frame in which people were back in theaters, like I know Jungle Cruise didn't do huge numbers, but that was released in the middle of COVID. So I can give it a pass. But if you take a look at The Rock's track record, the dude makes hits. Like again, like we like and again, I can get into this more, but like we can sit here and trash The Rock all we want and talk about his ego, and it's clearly on display in this film.
Oh, big time.
But
yes,
the fact of the matter is, when you're looking at something like this, all he was doing was following the formula for success that he had been following since that first Fast Five movie that made the dude successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can sit here and joke and say, he hasn't had any character growth, but when people are paying you money to see that, give the people what they want. So I don't blame him for doing what he did, but I definitely think
too much. Do you think maybe there was too much pressure on him in this role though? Because there's a nickname that I remember you bestowed upon him during Ropes to Reels, and I don't know if you coined this phrase or if you got this, and this is something everybody calls him. But the nickname that you used for him a lot was franchise Viagra. And other than the Fast franchise, I don't see how that applies to him for anything else. And I thought maybe, do you think that there was too much pressure for him to come in? The DCU is faltering at this point, right? The DCU is not doing well. They're about to pull the plug on it. And now it's like, okay, let's see what Black Adam can do. $7 is behind it. There's a lot of money behind it. There's a lot of hype behind it. Can The Rock be the DCEU's franchise Viagra? And he failed in large numbers. Do you think possibly there was too much pressure for The Rock, like from your James Gunn's and your DC people? Your what was the guy's name? Ramada or whatever the fuck his name was, Walter something. All those guys. Do you think they put too much pressure on $7 to save this franchise?
No, I don't. But I think The Rock did.
Mhm.
And you know what? Forget it. I was going to say this to the end, but you know what? We're on the topic now, so let's just flow with it. I think The Rock was banking everything on Black Adam being a major franchise hit. And I'm going to go into the whole thing, but you have to understand that this has been a passion project. This was a passion project for
Big
Dwayne
time.
Johnson for many, many years. But
Yeah.
at the time that he was trying to get it made, superhero movies were not the proven blockbusters that they were back then, or that they are, or they were just a few years ago.
Mhm.
The Rock's getting older. He's getting older. And the truth of the matter is the man does not have a franchise that other action stars of the previous generation that he has molded his career after have. He does not have a Terminator franchise the way Arnold Schwarzenegger did.
Yeah.
He does not have a Rambo or a Rocky franchise the way Stallone does.
Mhm.
He does not have a Die Hard the way Bruce Willis did. He does not have a movie that he can consistently fall back on when times get tough because he's getting older.
You're right, and the ones that he is part of, he came in late. Like he didn't come in till what was it, part 5 in Fast?
But this is why he also started. Right, but this is
Jumanji.
why he started to do Hobbs and Shaw.
Right.
Because I'm of the opinion that this has been his attempt so that he could create a franchise so that just like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and Willis, guys like this, once they hit a certain age, they know they cannot continue to rely on fresh things, or at the very least, they can have something to fall back on as time goes on.
Yeah.
Because The Rock realizes that as an action star, look, time catches up with you, man.
For sure.
And you're not going to be able to do that stuff all the time. But if you have something like a franchise that you can fall back on, you're going to be a bit safer. My theory is that The Rock was banking on Black Adam to be his mega franchise. And that is a big part of why I think he was so boisterous about it and why he hyped it up so much. Because if he could, in fact, turn the DC EU around with this film, if this film could be the big saving grace for DCEU, that would mean security for The Rock. And I think this is why we have WrestleMania 40 the way we do right now. Let me explain. I think the original plan was for Black Adam to be a massive success, and then The Rock to roll into WrestleMania season as a conquering hero, saying, I have the hottest movie in the world right now. I can do no wrong. It's safe for me to go back to pro wrestling. Because, like it or not, pro wrestling is still a dirty word in Hollywood and entertainment. And as much as The Rock loves it, he knows this. And until The Rock can have a franchise that he can fall back on, and until The Rock has the kind of security to know that when he goes back to Hollywood, he's not damaged goods, I don't think he could fully commit to WrestleMania last year. Because if you look at it, it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It was in Hollywood. Rock and Roman was supposed to be the match. We already know this. And The Rock said, I can't do it. I'm not in the right shape.
Yeah.
I call bullshit. What I call is that Black Adam flopped hard. And now the story changes. Because if The Rock makes $1 billion movie and saves a cinematic universe, dude can do whatever he wants and he's Teflon. He can still get offers for things because he's The Rock who just made $1 billion movies and saved a cinematic universe. But instead, he makes possibly the biggest flop of the year. His movie bombs. So now, from a career standpoint, if your movie bombs and then you go and work WrestleMania, you are going to be so damaged in Hollywood because people are going to criticize him and say, look at him. He makes a big flop, his first real flop since before Fast Furious, and he runs back to wrestling. He can't cut it in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake about it. The Rock has had a tougher time to get to the top because he was a wrestler. He had to work harder than everyone else to get there. And now he has to look at them with this huge flop and say, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to this thing that's always been safe. It's seen, he would be looked at as a coward in Hollywood. And I think he knew this. And so he said, you know what, guys? I'm not going to do it this year. Can't do it this year. Now we fast forward a year, and the Black Adam thing has essentially blown over. No one's really talked about it. And on top of that, more than that, he's no longer the biggest flop. The Flash has now overtaken that.
Blue Beetle.
All of these superhero movies are no longer raking in the big bucks, right?
Yeah.
So The Rock can sit there and say, look, it's not that my movie was bad. It's not that my brand is damaged goods. Just people are tired of superhero movies. Clearly. Now, I took the first hit, but that's clearly what this is. So now he can safely go back to the world of pro wrestling and do his thing and come back and still be a star again, because he's still getting these Netflix deals. In fact, he's coming back and he shifted his role from a performer to the owner of the company.
Yeah.
Again, the guy's getting older and he knows this. He knows he can't be a movie star much longer unless he has a franchise. And now he knows, okay, I clearly missed my chance, or the last chance for that is going to be a while. So I'm going to take this new direction. I'm going to be a businessman. And now I'm going to be where I'm comfortable and where I can still be a star for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the WWE. And so he waltzes in, says, hey, that thing we were supposed to do last year. Yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready now. And now we've got everything that we have. So if you are a fan of the build, you have Black Adam to thank for it, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know what? I've never thought of it quite like that, but you strike a very, very poignant point. I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Just one man's theory.
No, that's an extremely intelligent theory. I do not disagree with any of that. And he was very smart in that intro. I mean, he takes some risks as well, because he went and he did the XFL thing, right? And that was a big fucking risk, but sort of paid off because he didn't lose on that. Now the XFL has merged with the USFL.
The Rock sets himself up so that he does not lose. He might not win, but he never loses. Honestly, I think Black Adam is the first time you could ever say he lost. Because
even that's up in the air, because with James Gunn in there, he very well could still have things to do with James Gunn. James Gunn really wants to bring in Dave Bautista. Can you imagine the work that The Rock could be?
That's because Dave Bautista is a good actor. That's why.
Wow,
and he also worked with them for 3 movies and probably has a close friendship with the guy.
But it would be possibly a smart move to put those guys together in some capacity. And I'm sure we have, we'll get to this by the end of the show, but I'm sure we have not seen the end of Black Adam. I'm sure we have not seen the last of Black Adam in the DCEU.
Yeah, but I definitely think we've seen the last of The Rock as Black Adam.
You think so, eh?
100%. This movie was so toxic when it was released.
I don't think we'll ever get a proper sequel, but I assumed we would be seeing him still appear in a third Shazam movie. Or
no way, man. They recast Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah, they did.
One of the only good things from that universe.
Yeah.
So trust me, James Gunn understands there's a stink attached to this old DCEU, and he's going to do everything in his power to wash that stink away. Well, so
that's the only good thing that came out of The Flash was the ability to retcon 90% of that stuff, right?
No, I like the George Clooney cameo. That was fun.
Of course you did.
Nick Cage, CGI Nick Cage was all right.
It's fucking amazing.
All right. So any other heat that you have?
No, we got rid of the majority. The acting, the CGI
went off the rails, has been the underlying theme of this episode, I think.
The acting, the CGI, and the production are my 3 main heats for this film.
I just want to talk about two things that I hated. The needle drops in this film are the definition of cringy.
Yeah.
Paint it black when Black Adam is beating up these
God,
mercenaries.
so bad.
Power by Kanye West.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the come on, man.
They
Come
did
on.
you feel like they were almost trying too hard
Yes.
to be what the MCU is
No,
with certain films like Guardians of the Galaxy, like the way they use their music, but there was no consistency in Black Adam. They would go from the dark brooding Hans Zimmer style scores to using an upbeat song. None of it made sense to me.
I think you're being too specific. This movie is just trying too hard, full stop. If this movie was a meme, it would be Steve Buscemi saying, "How do you do, fellow kids?" This movie feels like it was written by somebody trying to appeal to teenagers who happens to be in their 50s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
It feels like just a collection of stolen imagery from much cooler properties. We got the guy getting kicked over the pit in 300 shot.
Yeah.
We got the Mad Max Fury Road witness me hand gesture shot. We've got the Terminator shot of Black Adam's kneeling as he appears in a giant ball.
yes.
We've got the
I remember thinking, especially he was fully caped. I'm thinking, is he going to be nude under that cape?
we have the complete Mortal Kombat fatalities,
Yes.
complete with CGI.
Yes, the fucking that was
we
the
have
other thing I didn't understand. That whole opening intro scene, which by the way was horrible, narrated by a fucking child. It made it feel like I was watching fucking Neverending Story, for Christ's sake. I thought we were watching a PG movie for the first 15 minutes of that film. And then they come and all of a sudden these skulls are rolling around, and I'm like wait a minute. When was your shift change? Is this a kids movie? Is this for kids or is this for fucking 18-year-olds? Oh no, it's not even. This has gotten gory now. And then he'll make some really fucking immature fucking sophomore jokes. Who was this movie for?
I don't know, but it's funny that you bring that up because one of the little fun facts in my trivia section was that the film originally received an R rating due to the gruesome death scenes in it. And a lot of those deaths had to be cut before the film could receive the more commercially viable PG-13 rating. I mean, I don't know what they were complaining about. It was all CG. None of it looked real.
No.
So, I mean, what was the point?
Fucking horrible.
Here's something interesting since we're already diving into trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peele was originally offered the chance to direct this film when it was first announced back in 2017, but declined it, saying that he's not a fan of superhero movies.
And I love that because he went on to say he didn't want to take that chance away from somebody who could truly love the franchise. Yeah, I had this written down as well. This is one of my notes because I want to talk about the direction of this film. Juan Collet-Serra, when I found out he was directing, I'm not going to say high hopes by any means, but I had hopes because you and I are both big fans of the horror genre. And knowing that Collet-Serra directed Orphan, which I personally love, House of Wax, which is maybe critically panned, but I think is a fucking fun film. I don't think House of Wax gets its flowers. I think it's a very fun film for its genre and era. But also he directed 92% of fucking Liam Neeson's brainless action films, which are a staple in my household. My wife and I love to sit down and watch shit like, The Unknown or The Commuter. Those are great movies. Just sit down, turn your brain off, and watch an action film. So when I found out he was going to be doing this film, I thought, okay, this could be really good. Any of the things that I liked from any of the aforementioned movies, I did not see in this film at all.
I mean, you're missing an important film though, because he also directed Jungle Cruise. with
I
The
omitted that
Rock.
because I never watched the Jungle Cruise. I can't
It's
remember what
okay.
it was. He turned down something pretty pivotal to do Jungle Cruise.
He was going to direct Suicide Squad,
Ah,
the
that's what it was.
the
Yeah,
the, the second Suicide
right.
Squad. But I think that's the most pivotal of all his previous works because let's be fair and honest. Wong might have been directing this movie, but he was not in charge of this movie.
No, by
The
any
Rock was
stretch
in
of the
charge of this
imagination.
movie.
Yes.
And The Rock, you can see, is surrounding himself with people that he likes and people who are going to agree with him and share his
Mhm.
vision. And look, I mean, he is far from the first producer to do that. Some of my favorite filmmakers do this all the time.
Of course.
But let's be honest, like this guy was not hired for his directing abilities, although he has directing abilities. He was hired because he's The Rock's buddy and he works well with The Rock.
Mhm.
And I think right there, you have a problem immediately.
Of all the directors the Rock has worked with, are you surprised that Wong was the one he chose?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll
I'm
say
trying to
this.
think of past directors. Yeah.
I've never heard of The Rock having disagreements with anybody in terms of
Right.
direction. So all I can guess is that he might have gotten along really well with Wom and
Mhm.
he was up for the challenge. And The Rock said, okay, this is my vision. I want to do this and I want a guy who's going to understand that vision and make it work. And he did.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you really like the Henry Cavill cameo.
Yeah.
You think it was worth $250,000?
No, no, it was not.
Because that's what they paid him.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But the fact that, you know, it's not my money, so I don't give a shit. It was a fun scene. It was just cool knowing for a fact that I will never again see Henry Cavill in that outfit. It was cool to see.
So let's say someone else's money well spent.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And my favorite fun fact about the film, Duane Johnson did not smile at all while playing the title role of Black Adam. No worries, Rock, because I wasn't smiling when I was watching
No
it.
shit.
All right, we talked about the Rotten.
If I may, I know this is probably off form, but I thought I was
Well,
supposed to do research.
Why start now?
Right. I have a cool piece of trivia myself.
Sure.
Pierce Bronson is the 5th James Bond actor to star in a comic book film or TV series.
Really?
And I think that's kind of cool. So if you don't mind, I'm going to list them off real quick.
Sure.
You got Timothy Dalton, who was in Flash Gordon.
Yep.
He was also in The Rocketeer. And most
Yeah.
recently, he was in the Doom Patrol television show.
Yeah.
George Lazenby was in 1988 Superboy. And he was a voice, I don't know who, but I know he was a voice on Batman Beyond.
Okay.
Sir Sean Connery was, of course, in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
And Daniel Craig was in both Cowboys and Aliens and The Adventures of Tintin. Both in 2011, by the way.
What a wide, weird range of things.
Right? I thought that was a really cool little tidbit.
Absolutely, man. All right, we talked about the Rotten Tomatoes score already. 38% of critics liked it, and 88% of audiences liked it.
88% audience score. Now, usually, like, I take Rotten Tomatoes scores with a huge ass grain of salt, especially the critic score. I usually tend to lean towards the audience score a bit more because, to me, what critics are just out there to make themselves sound a lot better than they fucking are. Half of them haven't gone to film school and like that. So who are they if not just well-paid fans?
You know what they are?
Yeah,
they're
I was
Harvard film noir art house teeny weenies. That's what they are.
So I take the critic scores with an extreme grain of salt. The audience scores I take a little bit more seriously, but at the end of the day I like to make my own decisions, obviously. But there are certain films where for example, one of my favorite films of last year was Clerks 3. And Clerks 3 received a modest critic score. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. But I know the audience score was something like 92%. and I am part of that 92%. I was lucky enough to see a screening of that film with Kevin Smith in the building, and the rest of the fans in that building were fucking rabid. People loved that movie. I know people love that movie. So, it's times like this, I'm like, the audience score really speaks for itself here. This is one of the movies. Who the fuck is grading this movie? We're 88% audience score for this piece of shit. I just don't get it.
Now, to be fair, that could mean that 5 people,
True
reviewed
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and 3 of them liked it. Who knows, right? What I do know is that this movie cost $260 million to make,
Yes.
and only made about $393.5 million. This was a complete flop. Absolute terrible for the box office. But
maybe you can explain something to me, because I don't understand money when it comes to film at all. This is considered not even breaking even.
That's right.
What does that mean? What do you need to break even? Because they made more than their budget. So how did they not break even?
So the general rule of thumb is that when you calculate for things such as marketing, distributing, and all of the things that go into getting a movie out into the public that does not include the actual creation of the film, the general rule of thumb in Hollywood is that a film should have to make double its budget back in order to break even.
Gotcha.
And if you look at that criteria,
not even close.
Not even close.
All right.
So we talked about those film noir art house teeny weenies. But what do the people think, Mike? Well, 88% of them seem to like it. But hey, on Ropes to Reels, we used to do this thing where we would take one negative review from a public reviewer site and one positive review and compare them. I don't know if you did this. I did this. So if you have a particular review that you would like to read, please go right ahead.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get a positive one because none of the positive ones were very entertaining. I knew you would find one, so I left that to you. I found 2 negative ones though that I needed to read out loud because I just find them very humorous to me.
Sure.
The first one is a half star.
Okay, so where did you get this review?
Oh, this is from Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. And this is an audience, or is this a critic?
This is an audience score.
Okay, all right.
Half a star. The Rock was so much better in Johnson. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all it says. And I've never heard of this. What the hell is Johnson?
Okay.
So I Googled it. This is a Swedish television show from the 1940s that obviously he was not in.
Okay. So we have a very confused Swede.
Yeah, that makes me very happy.
Well, that does explain at least 1% of that 88. Confused Swedes.
The other one, I just find funny because it uses a term that I fucking loathe. And I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use this one not because I agree with it at all, but because I'm basically calling out idiots who like to write things on the internet.
Fair.
And I'm going to leave in all the spelling errors and all the fucking punctuation shit that this guy's an idiot.
Oh God. All right.
So 1.5 stars. This is on IMDb.
1.5 stars. All right.
1.5 stars. This was woke. I fucking hate that term. This was woke, which didn't surprise me, and very demonic. Not good at all.
I mean, wait. I mean,
yep.
The guy goes to hell. There are demons there.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the guy's betting what's 500 right now is the big one, so he's like 250 right now. He's half right.
Okay, well, I got you on this next line. Not good at all. The Rock was good at acting, but everything else of this movies was demonic or woke. End quote.
Well, yeah, that like I said, he had one thing that I agree with. There was quite a bit of demon imagery in this film, that's for sure. I also have a negative review, but it's pretty short, so I think I could just put it in there. This is from Letterboxd. It's a 1-star review, or actually, sorry, it's a half-star review from Aaron. Now, I don't know if this is our good friend Aaron Rakowski.
Oh, Mr. Rubber.
But it does sound like something he would write. His review is as follows: up there as one of the most movies ever made. Just such a good line. Now I did find another half-star review.
Whoa, that was the whole review?
That was the whole review.
That's amazing.
And here's the thing though. I don't know if I can qualify this as a negative review based upon the content. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to let you be the judge.
And this is 1 star?
This is a half-star
Half
review.
star, okay.
So does this person actually hate this movie, or was this a terrible finger slip by Nathan Hale, who writes, "Bro, this movie was lit, bro. Black Adam is like, whoop, and then he like lightning zaps the bad guys, bro, and so much slow-mo. I want to be Black Adam when I grow up, bro." And he's like, "Bro, tell the man in black sent you to his enemies." And his enemies are like, "Bro, who am I telling? And how am I telling? Bro, you just ripped me in half, bro." And then Ant-Man shows up and is a silly boy, and little Timmy hides in his cage, bro. And then he rides his skateboard around the place like he's Zach and Cody running away from Mosby.
Oh my fuck.
Timmy. Bro, this movie is so tight, bro. I hope Black Adam fights Whittle Wex Wuther in the next movie. Please, Zack Snyder. Please make it happen.
Zack Snyder.
I'd be gluing my hands to the theater wall until I get results, bro. And then the people are like, "Say Shazam." And Black Adam is like, "I like the Tin Man." And everyone is like, "No, Adam, Shazam." And Adam just smiles at them. And then the credits say Black Adam. Whoa, bro. Need to make more movies like this, though. Please, bro. Half a star.
Oh my fuck. When the fuck did Vince Russo start making fucking movie reviews?
I don't know. He's your friend. Ask him.
that was something. That existed.
But I will say this. I do have a positive review as well.
I think you just read one.
Well, again, because I was on the fence about that one, but this one was 5 stars. This was a 5-star review on Letterboxd.
And I was going to shit all over it.
And I'm going to save, and I saved this for last for 2 reasons. The review itself, but also who it's by. This is posted by Tyler. And I don't know, I don't know if this is our Tyler, but based on the comment, I'll let you be the judge. So here's the review. You know what? Fuck it. 5 stars. That's the review.
That's the review. That's the best review this movie could fucking hope for.
All right. So we've heard the teeny weenie's thoughts. We've heard the audience's thoughts. We've heard the thoughts of a random Swede. But what about a random Mike? Mike, how would you rank the film? Jobber, mid-carder, or main event?
This is jobber all the way, man. I didn't want to be so too harsh on it. I wanted so badly to find some redeemable factors to save this film.
We did. Henry Winkler.
This film should have never been made. If I want my fill of Henry Winkler, I'll go back and binge watch Barry, which I might do anyways because fucking Barry's awesome. But there's nothing redeemable with this film. This film deserves to just be erased from existence. This is officially, I think, the Howard the Duck of the DCEU.
Wow.
This is something, man. Oof.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. I agree. It's also a jobber. This is what I'd like to. I've coined a new phrase for this, which is this is an almost movie, and I don't mean in the sense that it's almost a movie. I mean that there is so much stuff here that almost works. That's almost good and decent.
Yeah.
Like the idea of taking a superhero and having him battle the Justice Society and then having him to turn back, I like that idea. I like the idea of these people instantly cheering for a guy that's murdering people just because they're so sick of everyone else trying to come over and, free them. I like the idea there. There's something there, but they're just not developing it enough.
Do, do you think possibly we're at a stage now, though, in 2024 that the idea of the anti-hero is getting a little overplayed?
No, I just think it's got to be done right.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't done right here. And that's the point I'm making is that here's the thing. This movie was not enjoyable, but I think its worst crime is that it's just so Melba toast and meh and it's just so uninteresting. That is and God damn it, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should not be making uninteresting movies.
No.
Like here's the thing. Say what you will about his acting, even his later stuff. But again, to use Rampage as example, the dude made a movie with a Godzilla-sized monkey in it. That's interesting. God damn it. I don't care if you don't like remakes. You've got The Rock playing a video game character in which he is a meek teenage boy. That's interesting, man.
I'd really like
The
to
Rock
know.
on a big old boat in the Amazon. At least that's interesting
Sure
to me.
enough.
But this movie, there's just nothing interesting. It's so bland and boring. And that's the worst crime it commits. But it unfortunately it commits it for the entire length of the runtime.
I'd really like to know what Jordan Peele's movie could have been.
I don't even have a clever response to that. I just know that it would probably be weird and way better than what we got here because he's a director with vision. But again, I don't think that's what The Rock wanted.
But is he a director? He's been and this is why he turned it down. He's been a director of vision because he's always believed in his projects. You give him a project. Look what happened when Kevin Smith was given Cop Out. Okay, this could have been Jordan Peele's Cop Out, and I think he knew that, and that's why he didn't do it. You have a movie that's not yours, that you don't 100% believe in, and I could really see Duane Johnson being Jordan Peele's Bruce Willis.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I would watch the Jordan Peele Black Adam if it's Jordan Peele as Black Adam and Keegan-Michael Key as his form when he's not Black Adam.
I fucking love that so much.
Make that movie Hollywood. And then Jordan Peele fights Cody at WrestleMania.
I think Keegan-Michael Key just constantly calls him Adam. Oh, that's the movie I want. I think we just saved DCU right there.
I don't know about that, but I think we definitely came up with a movie that was better than this.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I'm almost glad we don't do this on a regular basis here on Count It Out because I can't sit through any more Rock movies. I'll tell you that much. It'll be a long time before I watch a Dwayne Johnson movie after today.
They're not all this bad. I swear to God. They're really not all this bad. They're really not.
Oh, good Lord.
Please watch Rampage. Go at least watch. And I don't know why I'm so focused on that one. It's not his best movie, but man, I just feel like that movie needs more love. I just think it's way more fun than people give it credit for. I mean, look, you watched Baywatch. You know he's already all right.
I need some time, but eventually I may watch it.
All right. If you do, invite me back. I'll watch that one again.
There we go.
I'll review it a second time. Why not?
With that said, I have no recollection whatsoever how we took things home at Ropes to Reels, so I'm going to give you the reins as it were.
Well, it was pretty simple. Basically, what we said was, thank you so much for listening to Ropes to Reels. We would always then say, hey, follow us on Patreon and put some ducats in the bucket. But since none of you did that, we don't have Wrestlemedia anymore, and now we have Counted Out. So thanks for nothing. And
Christ. Oh, wow.
You're welcome, Michael. No,
he's treating me like I'm the fucking Joaquin Phoenix to his river. Jesus. I'm the hair-lipped reminder of what could have been. My God.
You mean because one of us has a show that's just a bloated corpse now? Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. One lived hard and fast and was not ready for this, and was too beautiful for this world. And the other one made a really strange self biopic that wasn't actually a biopic.
I could easily do that.
I know you could, and that's what makes me sad.
That'd be really fun.
So to end it the way we actually ended it a long time ago, we would say, I'm at Adam Kota. And then you would say,
I'm not Tyler Wolf.
All right.
Because,
I get it. Thank
thing.
you. And when it comes to Black Adam, mercifully, that's a wrap.
Fuck, thank Christ.